Ana Ferreira, a 34-year-old Brazilian wildlife photographer, had spent 7 weeks in the remote Himalayan mountains of Nepal's Annapurna region. 2 years after losing her husband in an accident, she had thrown herself into her work, seeking something in these extreme landscapes that might fill the void inside her. On this October afternoon, she parked her Toyota Jeep on a plateau at 14,000 feet to photograph the sunset, painting the peaks gold and rose. 2 hours later, in the blue twilight, when she returned to her vehicle, she heard something. A faint sound, almost a whimper. She crouched down and looked beneath the Jeep. There, wedged between the rear wheel and axle, was a snow leopard cub no bigger than a house cat. Stunning silver gray fur, dirty with dust and blood. Ice blue eyes that stared at her with an intensity that froze her heart. His little paws were raw, pads torn and bleeding. He was panting from exhaustion, trembling, but he did not try to flee. He just looked at her with those impossible eyes, and Anna knew, the same way you know when someone is asking for help without words, that this cub had found her on purpose. If you believe in the extraordinary bonds between humans and the wild souls of our planet. Please subscribe to Wild Heart Stories. Every subscription helps us share more of these emotional journeys and strengthens our community dedicated to celebrating the impossible connections that prove love knows no species. Anna, with years of field experience, knew that snow leopard cubs never approached humans. They were ghosts of the mountain, extremely rare, extremely shy. Seeing one was already almost impossible. Having one under your car, it was madness. She moved slowly, spoke softly in Portuguese, using that calm voice she had learned to use with injured animals. The cub did not growl, did not flee. He watched her with disturbing intensity, as if waiting for her to understand something. When Anna finally brought him out using a blanket, she saw the extent of the damage. His paws were destroyed from running on rocky terrain. He was dehydrated, tongue dry, but his eyes did not have the confusion of a lost cub. They had determination. She brought him inside the Jeep and offered water. He drank frantically. She cleaned his paws as carefully as she could. He flinched from pain, but did not try to escape. And that is what broke something inside her. This wild baby who should be terrified was trusting her. While she worked, Anna noticed something strange. The cub kept looking at the mountain behind her at a specific point. He vocalized, not a meow of fear, but something almost urgent, as if trying to say something. Anna looked where he was looking. She saw nothing but rocks and distant snow. But an impossible thought began to form. What if he is not lost? What if he came to find me? That night, inside her heated tent with the cub wrapped in blankets, Anna tried to understand. Then she remembered something from 3 days ago. She had found a baby yak stuck in snow after a small avalanche. The mother yak was bellowing desperately. Anna had spent 4 hours digging, pulling, pushing. When she finally freed the calf and it stumbled back to its mother, Anna felt that pure satisfaction of having saved a life. But what if someone else was watching? Snow leopards hunt young yaks. A mother and cub could easily have been observing that scene from far away, and they saw something extraordinary. A human saving a mother and baby. This cub, by his age around 4 to 5 months, was still totally dependent on his mother. He would not survive alone. So if he was here alone, running until he almost died, it was because his mother could not come. Anna looked at the sleeping cub, his small chest rising and falling. She whispered, "Your mother is in danger, isn't she?" The cub's eyes opened in the darkness, and there was understanding there that should not be possible.
At dawn, Anna made a decision that could cost her life or career. She was going to trust the cub. After feeding him dried yak meat, she gently placed him outside the tent and waited. The cub looked at her, looked at the mountain, and started walking, limping on his injured paws, but determined. He walked a few meters, stopped, looked back, waiting. Anna grabbed her emergency backpack with ropes, climbing equipment, flares, medical kit, and water. She followed. The journey was brutal. The cub led her through terrain no vehicle could reach, climbing, always climbing, through narrow ravines, crossing frozen streams, scaling rocks that cut her hands even through gloves. Anna, fit, but exhausted by the altitude, struggled to keep up. The cub, even injured, knew every rock, every shortcut. He stopped frequently, not just to rest, but to make sure she was following. At certain moments, when Anna slipped or hesitated before a particularly dangerous passage, the cub vocalized. It was not random, it was directed communication. A short sound meant come. A longer sound meant careful here. This wild cub was teaching her, guiding her, showing her the way with patience that seemed impossible for such a young animal. After 6 hours of climbing, they entered a narrow valley between two gigantic rock formations. The cub stopped suddenly, his body went rigid, and then he cried, a sound Anna had never heard from a feline. High-pitched, desperate, broken. A baby calling for his mother. And from somewhere nearby, a response came. The call of an adult snow leopard, deep, powerful, but weak. So terribly weak. Anna followed the cub as he ran ahead, forgetting his injured paws in his desperation. And then she saw it. A vertical crack in the rock face, narrowing as it descended into darkness. Anna approached carefully and looked down. 4 meters below the surface, trapped in the narrowing shaft of stone, was the mother snow leopard. She was magnificent, even in her predicament. Thick, silver-gray fur marked with rosettes, a powerful body built for the harshest environment on Earth. But she was wedged sideways, her shoulders too wide for the space. When the leopard's golden eyes met Anna's, the moment crystallized into something eternal. Anna saw everything in that gaze. Wild fury, predatory instinct, fear of humans, but beneath it all, something that made Anna's heart hammer. Recognition. The leopard knew who Anna was, knew that the human looking down was the same one who had saved the yak mother and calf. And in those golden eyes was a question that transcended species. "You came because my son brought you." Anna assessed the situation with cold calculation. The mother was weak. 3 days without food at this altitude would be taking a brutal toll. But she was still a 50-kilogram apex predator with fangs designed to crush windpipes and claws that could disembowel prey. If Anna descended into that crevice and the leopard decided she was a threat, death would come quickly. But if Anna did not descend, the leopard would die slowly, and the cub would follow soon after, unable to survive alone. Anna made her choice. She began unpacking her climbing equipment, laying it out methodically. The cub watched with intensity that seemed almost human, as if he understood exactly what she was doing. Anna checked each piece twice: the rope, the harness, the webbing straps she would need to create a harness for the leopard, the carabiners and pulleys. She found 2 massive boulders and created anchor points, testing them with her full body weight. Satisfied, she clipped into her harness and began her descent into the darkness.
The crevice swallowed Anna as she descended. The walls pressed in on both sides, cold stone that smelled of minerals and ancient ice. Below her, the mother leopard's breathing grew louder, punctuated by occasional low growls that vibrated through the stone itself. At 3 meters down, Anna could clearly see the leopard's predicament. Her front right leg was bent at an uncomfortable angle. Her left front paw showed bloody claw marks where she had scraped repeatedly against smooth stone. Most alarming were the visible ribs beginning to show through that thick fur. 3 days without food had already begun the brutal process of starvation. Anna secured herself to the rope and stopped 2 meters from the leopard. She could feel the cat's eyes tracking every movement, could sense the coiled tension in that powerful body. Anna reached slowly into her pack and pulled out dried yak meat. The smell in the enclosed space was immediate and overwhelming. The leopard's nostrils flared wide, her golden eyes fixed on the food with desperate hunger. Anna tossed a piece. The leopard caught it mid-air with shocking reflexes, swallowing it whole. Anna tossed another, and another, 5 pieces in total. With each piece, Anna watched the leopard's body language shift. The aggressive edge began to dull. She was no longer considering Anna as potential prey or enemy. She was reconsidering, reassessing. Now came the part that could end Anna's life. She had to descend into the attack zone and fit the harness, which meant getting close enough to touch this wild predator. Close enough to die if the leopard decided trust was impossible. Anna pulled the webbing straps from her pack and held them up where the leopard could see. She kept talking, maintaining that steady stream of calm words. "This will help you. I need to put this around your body. Your son brought me here. He trusts me. Please trust me too." Anna descended another half-meter. Now she was close enough to see individual whiskers, to watch the rapid pulse beating in the leopard's throat, to smell the wild musk mixed with blood and fear. Anna extended the harness slowly. The leopard's eyes tracked its movement with the focus of a predator watching prey. Her muscles tensed. And then the leopard did something that Anna would replay in her mind for the rest of her life. She lowered her head, just slightly, barely perceptible, but it was permission. It was consent. It was trust given by a creature who had every reason to refuse it. Anna's hand shook violently as she maneuvered the webbing loop over the leopard's head. The cat's ears flattened. Her lips pulled back slightly, revealing those impressive fangs, but she did not pull away, did not strike. Anna worked the straps down the thick neck and under the front legs, talking constantly. The harness had to fit snugly, but not restrict breathing. She had to reach around the leopard's body, and for one eternal moment, her face was inches from the cat's powerful shoulder, close enough that one snap of those massive jaws could crush her skull. But the leopard held still. Every muscle trembled with the effort of restraining instinct that screamed to attack, but she held still. And Anna understood this was not just an animal acting on instinct. This was a conscious choice. The leopard understood that Anna was trying to help, that the human who had descended into this stone prison was the same human her son had watched save another mother. And she was choosing to trust, even though everything in her evolution told her not to. Anna secured the harness with a carabiner and immediately retreated, ascending quickly. Only when she was 3 meters up did she allow herself to exhale. Her entire body was shaking, adrenaline flooding her system so intensely she felt nauseous. She had just harnessed a wild snow leopard. She had just survived what should have been impossible. Anna called up toward the opening. "I need to attach the pull rope now. Almost there. We're almost there."
She clipped the main climbing rope to the harness using a rescue-rated carabiner, checked the connection twice, then began the final ascent to the surface. Emerging into daylight was like being reborn. Anna's legs nearly buckled as she pulled herself over the edge. The cub was there immediately, pushing against her legs, looking between her and the opening with eyes that asked everything. Anna ran to her pulley system and threaded the rope through the mechanical advantage setup. The physics was simple in theory. The pulleys would allow her to lift many times her own strength. But theory and reality were separated by 50 kilograms of wild predator, 4 meters underground. Anna braced her feet against the rocky ground, grabbed the pulling end of the rope with both hands, and pulled. The rope went taut instantly. Anna felt the full weight of the leopard transfer through the system. She pulled harder, throwing her entire body weight backward. Nothing moved. Anna repositioned, found better footing, and pulled again with everything she had. This time she felt something give, a few centimeters of movement. She pulled with everything she had. Her muscles burned. Her shoulders felt like they were tearing. Her hands, even through thick gloves, felt the rope cutting into her palms, but she could not stop. Anna pulled until sweat poured down her face despite the freezing temperature. Pulled until her vision blurred and her breath came in ragged gasps. Pulled until she thought her heart would simply explode. From inside the crevice came a sound unlike anything Anna had ever heard, the leopard vocalizing, a sound that combined a growl with a cry, confusion and fear and perhaps pain as the harness lifted her body in a way her muscles had never experienced. Anna's world narrowed to the burning in her muscles, the rope in her hands, and the creaking of the anchor system. There was only the pull, only the desperate need to bring that mother leopard back to her son. And then, like a miracle, the leopard's head appeared at the opening. Those golden eyes, wide with shock, met Anna's across the space. The mother's front paws scrambled frantically at the edge, finally finding solid ground. But the opening was still too narrow. Her powerful shoulders were wedged, her body still mostly below ground. Anna tied off the rope temporarily. She ran to the edge. "Come on! You can do this! You're so close! Push!" The golden eyes of the leopard locked onto Anna's face, and in that moment of connection, something passed between them. A shared understanding of desperation, of determination, of the primal need to survive and return to family. Anna ran back to the rope, released the tie-off, and pulled with a scream of effort that tore from her throat and echoed off the valley walls. The leopard surged upward with a burst of strength and tumbled out of the crevice opening, collapsing on the rocky ground. For a moment, time stopped. The leopard lay on her side, her chest heaving, her eyes closed, and her body completely still, except for that desperate breathing. And then the cub moved. He rushed forward with a cry that was pure joy and pure relief, his small body crashing into his mother's larger form. That contact seemed to wake something in the adult leopard. Her eyes opened, her head lifted, and she saw her son.
The sound the mother made was one Anna would never forget. Not a roar or a growl, but something far more primal and pure. It was recognition. It was relief. It was love given voice. The mother pulled her son close with one massive paw, crushing him against her chest, and began grooming him with desperate intensity. She was confirming through taste and touch and scent that he was real, that he was whole, that this was not some cruel hallucination. The cub made sounds Anna had never heard before, high-pitched keening that spoke of 3 days of terror, 3 days of separation, 3 days of running on bleeding paws to find help. He burrowed into his mother's fur, his small body shaking. He was home. He was safe. His mother was alive and holding him. Anna backed away slowly, her own eyes burning with tears. She gave them space, gave them the privacy this moment deserved. She walked on legs that shook with exhaustion back to where her equipment lay scattered. She sat down heavily, suddenly unable to stand another moment. Her entire body was shaking, the adrenaline crash hitting her like a physical blow. She looked at her hands. The gloves were shredded. Her palms were bloody where the rope had cut through fabric and skin. She had not even felt it happen. She looked at the 2 leopards 50 meters away, mother and son, reunited in a tangle of silver fur and desperate affection. And the tears came harder, tears of exhaustion, tears of relief, tears of something larger and more profound than she had words to name. She had gone into that crevice knowing she might die, had descended toward a trapped apex predator, understanding that one wrong move meant death. But she had done it anyway, because a wild cub with ice-blue eyes had trusted her enough to run 15 miles on bleeding paws to find her. Because that cub had somehow known, with an intelligence that transcended instinct, that the human who saved the yak mother and calf would save his mother too. And against every odd, against millions of years of evolution that screamed at both species to fear each other, it had worked. Trust had been given and earned and reciprocated. A family was whole again. 4 months later, on a gray February morning, Anna returned to the valley. She told herself she was not specifically looking for the leopards, that the chances of finding them again were essentially 0. She believed exactly none of it. She set up camp in the same place and waited. The next morning, Anna woke before dawn and stepped out into air so cold it made her lungs ache. Fresh snow had fallen during the night, covering everything in a pristine blanket of white. And there, in that fresh snow, no more than 10 meters from her tent, were tracks. Recent tracks, large paw prints and smaller prints beside them. A mother and a juvenile, nearly grown but not quite. Then Anna saw what was next to the tracks. On the same flat rock where she had left food 4 months ago was an offering, half a marmot, the body still warm enough that steam rose from it in the frigid air. The kill was fresh, made within the last hour. It had been deliberately placed, not dropped or abandoned, but placed with care on the one surface Anna would definitely notice. The message was unmistakable. This was a gift. This was reciprocity. This was thank you, spoken in the only language a snow leopard knew.
Anna sank down in the snow, tears freezing on her cheeks. She looked around at the rocks and peaks, knowing she was being watched, but seeing nothing. Snow leopards were called ghosts of the mountain for excellent reasons. Anna spoke out loud, her voice carrying across the silent valley. "Thank you. Thank you for remembering me. I hope you are both well and happy and strong. I hope you know that meeting you changed my life, changed everything I thought I knew about the world." She sat there for a long time, looking at the marmot, at the tracks, at the mountains that held their secret so perfectly. She would not take the marmot. It was not meant for consuming. It was a symbol, a communication, a message that said, "We remember you. We acknowledge what you did. Here is our gift in return." 3 days later, when Anna began the long drive down the mountain, she looked in her rearview mirror one last time. There, standing on a boulder at the edge of the drop-off, silhouetted perfectly against the blue sky, was a silver-gray shape. The mother leopard stood there for a long moment, watching the vehicle that carried the strange human who had saved her life. Then she turned with fluid grace and vanished back into her mountain kingdom, back to the realm of ghosts and legends and wild things that bow to no one. Anna drove on, her eyes wet, but her heart full in a way it had not been in longer than she could remember. She drove knowing that she had been chosen, that she had proved worthy of that choice, and that somewhere in the highest mountains on earth, 2 snow leopards carried the memory of a human who had helped them when help should have been impossible. And perhaps in their own way, in the language of wild things that humans will never fully understand, they were grateful, just as Anna would be grateful for all her remaining days that she had been in exactly the right place at exactly the right time to hear the small cries of a cub who knew where to find hope when hope was the last thing left to find.